Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. I've got something pretty cool on the table here. I've got a shotgun that has a short barrel that's not an SBS, or it's not a short barrel shotgun. This is the Mossberg 590 Shockwave. It's one of the most recent offerings from Mossberg. It's based on a 590 chassis, and it's a 12 gauge, chambered in either 2 3/4 or 3 inch. But this particular gun has a 14-inch barrel looking at Mossberg specs, and when I measure it with the classic method of action close, put a rod down it and check it, comes out about 14.5 inches, and the ATF lists it as 14 7/16. So who are you going to believe? It's a 14 and something inch barrel, which is actually a fairly short barrel, and it results in an overall length of about little over 26 inches. 26.37 according to Mossberg, and about 26.5 according to the ATF. And some of these numbers are really important. Typically with a shotgun, the exact number of inches the barrel and the exact length usually aren't too important, but in this case those numbers are pretty important. This thing should be an SBS. This should require a tax stamp via the NFA, but it doesn't, because Mossberg was very careful, their lawyers and their engineers, very carefully navigated through that mess that we have called the NFA and the GCA, National Firearms Act and the Gun Control Act, and figured out a way to make something, which of course this is unloaded, to make something that fell into just basically a default category of firearm. So if you go to buy one of these, if you can walk into the store, drop your money down, fill out the 4473, it'll get listed as other, and you walk out the door, and it's perfectly legal. Talk about a few of the features, and then talk about a few of the things you may want to be aware of. It's got a little bead sight on the one end. You can see that here. But to use the sights on this, you're basically going to be holding it up in front of your face and holding onto this bird's head grip, which is a Shockwave Technologies Raptor bird's head grip. And it's probably not going to be the most comfortable way to shoot this thing. It's kind of a cumbersome way to hold this. This is a home defense, get out of my house, get off me kind of gun. This isn't, a Clay's or, any of that type of thing. It's just not what this is built for. This grip, when you get a hold of it, you basically hold it like this. And then you would hold the forend like this, and the strap kind of helps keep it from flipping out of your hand, which it's kind of prone to. It's kind of difficult to get a hold of it. This is actually quite smooth, and it's just kind of got a bit of a flare. Now, if you've never shot a pistol grip shotgun before, you might want to try that before you give this thing a try. On a pistol grip, you're holding it down here, and when it fires, it comes back, and the pistol grip kind of backs into your hand, so it gives you something to hold on to. With this, when you fire it, it tries to go like this. And if you're not careful, you'll get one of those. If you're a little too close to the safety, or you don't have quite tight enough grip on it, when it goes off, it'll come back and the safety will bite you. So this is not something to give a first timer, and it's not something if you've never fired a pistol grip shotgun without a stock. It's not a good choice for your first one. But once you're used to it, once you get a good solid grip on it, there's a bit of a flare here. So if you do clamp your hand down on it, you can hold on to it. It's not going to go anywhere, but expect it to really kick pretty good, especially if you're using double-aught buck or 3-inch shells or magnums. It's actually quite a bit of fun to shoot. You probably saw from the shooting video. It does kick pretty good, but it's easy to control and it's easy to keep a hold of it. It's got a 5+1, 5 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. And as I mentioned earlier, you can shoot 2 3/4 inch or 3-inch shells with it. And there's a little adapter you can buy that's made by a third party to shoot the little mini shells. And we'll be doing a follow-up video. We're going to put a rail on it. You'll see that you can remove these screws, and there's aftermarket Picatinny rails you can put on the gun. And I'm going to put a low-profile laser on it. And you might think, why are you going to put a precision aiming device like a laser on a shotgun? Well, this thing, the easiest way to shoot this thing is to have it down by your hip, grab a hold of it, like this, so that your arm is kind of like that, and fire it from the hip. Well, at that point, the sights are useless. Any type of red dot or optic is useless. But a laser will do a good job of pointing, where the buckshot's going to go. So I'm going to try that out. We'll do a follow-up video when we do that. Now, as far as modifying this thing, you want to be relatively careful. The way that Mossberg got this approved, and there is actually an ATF letter of determination that I'll put a link in the description, is by very carefully navigating those two laws. If you change this grip out, put a stock on it, it'll become a short barrel shotgun. Put a pistol grip on it, and I'm not sure exactly what it'll become, but it will lose its protection under the NFA. And if you mess around with the barrel or try to put any kind of thing that would be construed as a forward grip, anything like this on it, you're probably going to run into a problem with this slipping out of that little niche that they found for it and then actually becoming a NFA controlled weapon, and the fines and penalties for that are pretty severe. So as this thing sits, it's legal according to the ATF. You start messing around with the stock and things like that, and you might very quickly get it outside that protected zone. The interesting thing I also noted in the letter when I was reading it is that the NFA or the ATF specifically called out that if this is concealed on your person, that it may drop it into the NFA. And they didn't come right out and outright say it would, but they kind of strongly hinted. So this isn't a concealed carry gun. Now, as far as its legality, of course, I just described federal. Where you live and the jurisdiction you're in may be completely different. You know, this may not be legal in the state or municipality you're in, so you want to check that. But at least from a federal standpoint, as you see it, it's good to go. So it's a lot of fun to shoot. It's definitely a good home defense weapon. Because it's short, it's maneuverable, and especially if you put a laser or something on it so that you can have it down by your side, this is really perfect for what are you doing in my house and it's time for you to go. It's probably a little less useful for personal defense, you know, outside the house, and it's definitely not really a good hunting choice. You know, you're trying to put a shot on a turkey with this is not going to be as effective as a conventional shotgun. So look forward to us doing some mods to this. So now that we've talked about all the fun, cool, and scary stuff, let's talk about the basic function of this as a shotgun. It's a typical Mossberg. The safety's on the tang. So in the position I've got it in right now, it's in the safe position. Push it forward and it's in the fire position. Flip it back and it's again safe. There is a sling swivel on the back of the bird's head grip and on the front of the magazine tube. So if you want to put a sling or something like that on it, the magazine tube, and I had cleaned it so I hadn't tightened this down properly. You unscrew this to pull the barrel off to disassemble it. This strap could be removed if you wish. Before you take it off, take it to the range, try it out with the strap on there, and just make sure that that's not going to be helpful in keeping it in your hand when it tries to flip. To load the gun, you would close it, and you could throw around in the chamber if you wish, and you'll notice the elevator's out of the way. So at this point when I'm loading it, there's nothing in there to bite my fingers. I'm not going to get bit on the back of my finger or by anything. It's totally wide open. You can hold 5 in the tube, and then you can hold 1 in the chamber. And to open it, if you haven't pulled the trigger, push down this little release, and it'll open it, and there you can see the elevator. If you close the gun and pull the trigger, then I've got to have it off the safety, and pull the trigger, then you don't need to push that button to cycle it. And what that prevents it from doing is when it's closed and locked and ready to fire, it prevents it from accidentally opening as you're pulling around on the slide. So it's pretty much your standard Mossberg 590 as far as the action and the componentry. It's a well-constructed gun, and the Mossbergs are known to be quite reliable and quite durable. This one here is real new, so the action's not super smooth on it. We've got another Mossberg chainsaw, which is based on a 500, and that's nice and smooth. It's got some rounds downrange, so I'm sure this will smooth out and run, nice and smooth once I've used it a few times, gone through a few cleaning and oiling cycles, and run it a little bit. And a couple durability items on this. On the slide mechanism, there's two guides as opposed to 1, and on the bolt itself, and it's going to be hard to show this, it's double extractor. You can see 1 right there by my finger, and then when it's closed, there's the other extractor. So it's got a double extractor. So extraction is going to be highly reliable on this. If one doesn't catch it, or if the edge gets pulled a little bit, chances are pretty good the other one's going to catch it. So these are known to cycle reliably and rarely hang up unless you short shuck it. And any pump shotgun, if you short shuck it, can misbehave. The only disadvantage to these is the trigger group, fire control group, is plastic and polymer, and they're known to crack right up here on some of the 500s and 590s. The military version, the 590A1, this is metal, and you can actually buy that part. It's around $100 and drop it in place. And I'll probably get one of those for these just to see how well it works and drop it in place, and you know, reduce the likelihood of this cracking. The chance of it cracking, I don't think it's really common, but you know, a gun like this is one you're going to probably use hard, so it would be more likely to occur on something like this than one that you're using for sporting clays and, you know, shouldering with a nice stock. Overall, I think the gun's a lot of fun. It's not necessarily practical if you've got a sporting purpose for it, but for home defense or just the fact that I've got one, where's yours? It's a really good choice. If you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, check us out on Facebook, and have a great day. Thank you. Loading the thing is fairly easy. You just drop one in the chamber if you want to have one in the chamber, and then just feed the rounds in, kind of drop them down in, push them in with your finger, and push them far enough that they pass a little retention catch that holds them. And it's pretty easy to do. There's not a lot of tension, and you'll notice I'm doing it without having to worry about my fingers bit. Once you get the thing loaded up, you get your 5+1, you're ready to go.